Thank you for this meeting and the opportunity to speak. This was the best of our meetings so far with President Trump. We discussed many details, even on maps, showing the current battlefield situation, what is actually controlled on our territory and on the temporarily occupied territories. I especially want to thank our European leaders. This was an important step, a demonstration of strong European support, including the European Union, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, as well as President Ursula von der Leyen and NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte. They personally came to support Ukraine and address critical questions, such as how to support the state and what needs to be done for a just and lasting peace. Security guarantees are vital for us, so after the war ends, there should not be just a pause in fighting but a real peace backed by strong guarantees from our partners. Ahead of this meeting, we didn't have such opportunities. Our team has done much. 30 countries in our coalition of the willing were involved in discussions, all with a shared vision for the next steps. Besides European countries, Canada, Australia, Japan, and other coalition partners participated. With President Trump and then with colleagues, we discussed main topics, security guarantees, as a start for ending the war, with the US giving a clear signal that it will help and coordinate such guarantees for Ukraine. This is a major step forward, even if details remain to be finalized. Another big issue is the return of children. The US First Lady and the administration understand how difficult and painful this is, and will join in efforts to bring back Ukrainian children taken during the war. We agreed to work on exchanges, not just military prisoners, but also civilians and political prisoners. President Trump supported a trilateral leaders meeting, Ukraine, the US, and Russia, to happen as soon as possible, if everyone agrees. After coordinating on security guarantees, President Trump contacted Russia to discuss diplomatic steps. Russia proposed a two-way Ukraine-Russia meeting first, then a trilateral summit. I confirmed, with full support from European leaders, that we are ready for a bilateral meeting with Putin, followed by a trilateral summit. Whether a trilateral will happen depends on how the bilateral goes. This outcome is a good and normal result.
I wanted to ask about this bilateral meeting and then the trilateral one. Is there clarity yet? Is it going to be a meeting without any condition from Russia, or will they again start putting forward demands about Donbass or whatever else just to delay things?
We do not know any details about the bilateral meeting. Together with the President of the United States, we discussed that all parties must show the desire to end the war. The desire to end the war means a diplomatic meeting at the leaders' level. If one or another side does not show a desire to meet, we will ask the United States to act accordingly. Appropriate measures. There is pressure from the United States. For now, we understand what formats could work, and so there is likely a possibility the meeting will happen. You asked if there was clarity about the first, then the second meeting. We are ready here and waiting for society's approval. As I said, we are ready for any format of a leaders' meeting. If Ukraine starts putting conditions for the meeting, some global, certainly fair, regarding the ceasefire, then Russia will put forward 100 conditions of their own. So I think we should meet without any conditions and then think about the next steps to end the war.
Have you seen the photograph from the Oval Office? The map of Ukraine with the occupied territories, the percentage that is occupied? What do you think about this map?
I even argued about the percentage shown on the map because I am very well oriented in the percentages of temporarily occupied territories. Still, there was no quarrel. We had a very warm, substantive conversation.
What is the position of the United States? They continue to insist on this so-called territorial exchange. Is there any acceptable formula for Ukraine where something can be recognized as Russian, or regarding the territorial issue?
I had a rather long conversation about the map with the United States. They prepared well. I am grateful to them, though we already had the same map. But still, we had a long discussion about this. It's very important to understand that some parts of our country, such as the East and Crimea, were occupied not because one army pushed another back, but because there were no major battles, for instance, in Crimea. So you can't say that a large part was occupied just because the Russian army is strong. These points are important, not to accuse someone, but so that the President of the United States actually understands what the real army movements were, and the strength of the Ukrainian army. For example, there are exact figures, previously unknown, for example, that in 1,000 days, up to 1% of our territory was occupied by Russians. People think 20% or 18%, but it was up to 1%. It changes the focus for us, the focus on truth and reality, but also shifts the balance of how strong each army is. For the first time, for various reasons, I had the opportunity to discuss these things with the President of the United States and his team, not reading from notes, but knowing every square kilometer, unfortunately covered in the blood of our soldiers. For me, this is a very sensitive matter. I wanted to discuss it. I think the President understood and saw it. There were different moments, but it was important information. And so the territorial question is something I will leave between me and Putin.
So Spiln reports that Ukraine is proposing a framework for $100 billion in reconstruction. Can you clarify what that means? Are the security guarantees going to be expanded by our partners? And will there be more detail?
As all these things are set out on paper, it will be formalized within the next week or 10 days, as I said. Part of the security guarantees is our part. I just physically won't be, it's not possible, in our budget. For this, our European partners must understand we need to find sources of funding for a fairly long period so that it is part of the security guarantees. Apart from salaries and financial aid, we may have enough of our own budget for salaries. Then we will be short, for example, for our internal production, as is the case now. Our partners do not provide salaries for servicemen, understandably, they can't, but they do provide funding for our production. So if we fund high salaries ourselves for our soldiers and in such quantity, we'll need strong financing for production. The second point is the weapons package, US weapons that we don't have. These include aircraft, air defense systems, etc. Let's leave etc. for now. There is a package of our proposals totaling $90 billion. That is the second part of security guarantees for us. The third part is our drone production. We have agreements with the President of the United States that when we begin exports, they will buy Ukrainian drones. This is important. It will finance our domestic drone production. Our companies will have money for manufacturing and increasing production, and for co-production with partners. The second part of security guarantees is what our partners can do for us, how security guarantees will work, what forces will defend Ukraine in case of renewed aggression. That's all I can say for now. Please.
In the briefing, was there anything during these multilateral bilateral negotiations that was unacceptable to you, and what was it?
It's a discussion, a dialogue with partners. Everyone has their arguments. No unacceptable decisions were made. I think everyone did their job.
Clarification. Are we talking about coordination of security guarantees with the United States? Did President Trump propose something?
That will be clarified in detail. What matters is that we will work together on security guarantees. For us, security guarantees from the United States are very important.
A question about American peacekeepers. Trump spoke about this before the Ukrainian meeting. What's being decided?
Maybe it won't just be American peacekeepers, maybe other countries as well. Look, we're talking about a coalition of the willing, 30 countries. We'll see what each of these countries can actually offer. Some may be ready to discuss presence, some may discuss intelligence, others sea, others air security. Different formats. Some might not have constitutional rights to send troops, but can fund domestic Ukrainian production. These are deep, broad questions. Let's wait for everything to be clarified in detail.
Mr. President, Today, Donald Trump said he phoned Vladimir Putin during a break between the main large-format meeting and the informal part. Can you say at what stage it happened? What topics may have been discussed? And what he replied after that?
We had a bilateral track, then a large format track, where we agreed in bilateral about the security guarantees and possible meetings. Then, in expanded format, we went into more detail about security guarantees and possible meetings. After that, President Trump said that he would now go and discuss it with Russia and Putin to get feedback. We received the feedback. We were ready for it. He spoke. We discussed our questions with colleagues about how we would technically handle video meetings about security guarantees. After that, we returned to the Oval Office. The President said the proposal is for a bilateral format, then we'll move to a trilateral one.
Miroslava and everyone, I want to ask my question and also pass the word to my colleague Vitaly Shevchenko, whom you may not know. He also has positive words. My question, Mr. President, is how important was the participation of European partners? How did it affect the outcomes of the meeting? How did you manage to bring them together so quickly?
First, they respect Ukraine, and they respect our people. I think we have very good personal relations with them. In fact, for some, this was like family. I won't specify. For some, it was their first day with family. I am grateful and respectful for how quickly we managed to organize and bring them together so we could all arrive together. I am very grateful to them. I think it really had an impact, because Ukraine is not alone. It's important that we have such strong support. There were also, I think, tactical moves. I think it was all correct.
Sorry, what?
Is there a date for you to meet with President Putin?
The date?
Yes.
No, we don't have any date. We don't have any date. We just confirmed after this productive meeting with President and then with all our colleagues, with the partners, we confirmed that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposed to President of the United States bilateral, and then we will see the result of bilateral, and then it can be the trilateral. So I said always, so Ukraine will never stop on the way to peace, and we are ready for any kind of format, but on the level of leaders. Thank you so much. Дякую.